What is going on, everybody? Happy 4th of July to all you people here in the United States. And I guess happy Friday to everybody else in the world. I know Lito's here. She's over there in the UK. We got Kenneth. Glad you guys could be. Shay's here for a live. Love to see it when Shay can hop in. Jody, lunchtime poolside. So jealous. Yeah, Jamie's been sending me pictures of her on the boat up on Lake Michigan. Man, I love being around water on days like today. Hopefully I can do something like that this weekend. I know my wife just took Walter up to the lake and went swimming. And so Walter got some swim time this morning. What's up, Craig? Train to live. So, yeah, hoping to get around some water later this weekend. Maybe we'll take Walter back up there this weekend. He loves the water. I hope I'm not interrupting anybody of you who are tuning in to see the Nathan's hot dog eating contest over there at the boardwalk. Is there anybody that truly enjoys watching this? Like, I can't believe the ratings a hot dog eating contest gets on TV. That boggles my mind to this day. The gluttony of just shoving wet hot dog buns and raw hot dogs into your mouth. I've watched it a few times. I just can't anymore. Is Joey Chestnut still around? So this is his comeback year, apparently. Last year he claimed he was vegan, and because of that, the Nathan's group kicked him out of the hot dog eating contest. And then now he's back this year. So I don't know. Train to live. I thought you were having your own hot dog eating contest on the lunch show today. I am not. I've done eating contests in the past. I was in a chicken wing eating contest once, and I realized I just don't eat that fast. I don't eat that fast. It was how many chicken wings could you eat in 15 minutes, and then you took a 5-minute rest, and then you got a 2-minute lightning round. And I ate, I think it was 30, and I was sick. Somewhere around 30. The guy who won ate 83. I was nowhere even close. And that was 20 years ago. But yeah. Yeah. Jody Lynn says, Merica. We're going to talk about Merica at the end of the show today, and the 5 things that make me feel Merica. Kenneth DeLapp says, hasn't been the same since Kobayashi. That we're reminiscing about food eaters is crazy. Trying to get to the gym in maybe heavy or cardio. It's such a tough choice. Something tells me you're leaning heavy. So there. One funny thing that happened today is this, and I'm going to share my screen with you all. So my L1 expires at the end of the year. I got this email today from CrossFit that we're just reaching out to remind you that your CrossFit Level 1 trainer, CFOL1 credentials expire 6 months on December 31st, 2025. Do you remember a couple months ago when there was a judge at Mayhem said, I didn't know my credentials expired. I didn't know. How could I know? Well, here I am 6 months out, and I've got a big, bold email from CrossFit telling me mine's going to expire in 6 months. And when the expiration date is, and then these are my options. I can do the level 1. I can do the level 2. Or I can do the online level 1. So I had this up ready because of what happened a few months ago. And then I saw a Hiller post today where he showed they offered a 1-year extension for $199. I did not get that offer. That offer is not in this email. And then I've talked about this on the show. I don't know whether I'm going to extend my CrossFit level 1. I don't coach anymore. I do the media thing. I don't judge anymore. That's really why I did the second one. I coached for like 4 years at my gym, and I loved it. But the media thing just takes over everything. So I don't know whether I'm going to keep mine going or not. I loved taking the course. I've taken it both in person and online. The online, I think, is way harder than the in-person. The in-person is much more stretched out. You do a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit there. The online, man, it's crammed in, and you're doing a lot of moving in a couple hours. I was so sore at the end of my online L1. But yeah. Denise says, I think you should ask for an extension. I don't know what it means to me anymore. I'm not coaching. I'm not judging. I don't need the credentials. So I just don't know. I've always wanted to get my L2 just to see what it was, to see what was in it, but is it worth $1,000 for me to just see and be curious? Jody says, but what if there's a judging emergency and they need you? I think they'll be okay. Denise showing she's better than all of us. She did 3 hours of working out this morning on a holiday, and she is hot and tired. What's up, Meredith? So, yeah, just to show that CrossFit does actually notify you when your L1 or L2 is going to expire and gives you fair warning to sign up for another class to keep it going. So some of the excuses that were brought out back then really don't hold a lot of water. Yeah. Jody Lynn, Savant promoted your show when he signed off. I was there. I heard it. I love me some Tudor Magda. Tudor has been one of my favorite athletes for a very long time. Met him when James Townsend was coaching him. Got to meet them at, I think it was the MAC back a few years ago, and hung out with them outside the venue for a little bit. Really been a big fan of Tudor ever since. Next, they need to release a list of all media people that have CrossFit certification. Yeah. Well, right now me. Wanted to talk quickly. I review all the documentaries that come out. So I watched the Saghafi documentary that Hiller did. I don't think it is definitely my favorite video of the year. So I would give it an A+. I think the highlights of the video are, in all of that time, they never really talk about this year's games. They talk about her upbringing. They talk about her being a violinist, which that just warmed my heart that she played the violin for Hiller. I've been begging for that in a video. Charlie and I make a brief appearance in the video. Not that that's the highlight, but it was cool to see that we made it. What else? The steroid talk I thought was fascinating. And then, of course, the end of the video, and I don't want to put any spoilers out if you have not seen it. It gets really deep, really emotional, and you get all the feels at the end of that video. And I thought Hiller captured it amazingly, and he should be commended for it. I also thought the stuff in the gym was not like about training. It was like about the relationships with Dallin and Jason and I the only part that I had a hard time understanding was Matt Torres's thought process. And I was actually talking to another coach last night, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's the stuff I get into, like diving into Matt Torres's brain." And I'm like, "Well, that was way over my capability as a coach." So but he loved it, and I see your comments in here. Train to Live, Feed Doc was 100 out of 10. Jose, best documentary in the amount of time I've done CrossFit, in my opinion. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite of the year. I don't want to get caught into like hyperbole and say that it's the greatest of all time, but it may be the greatest of all time. And maybe that's something we can talk about in the future, is going back through, because I've probably watched every documentary that CrossFit has ever done. I've not watched all the side stuff, but I've watched every one CrossFit has done. And there's a couple that may compete with it for different reasons, but man, it's up there in the top 5, I think, for sure. No, I don't think. For sure, it is a top 5 video all time. It may be the best one ever. It may be the best one ever. Lito says, haven't seen it yet, saving it for tonight. I will not give you any spoilers. But it's really, it grabs you right at the beginning. It's pretty amazing. Meredith says, excellent film, really, truly enjoyed it. I know you've talked about it before, and I think Fee's personality and openness and willingness to be vulnerable made that video great. I agree. But it also takes the interviewer or the person doing the content, it takes them working to know a little bit about the person's background to be able to ask the right questions to get you there. So, and that's where the difference between Hiller and the Road to the Games are. He did enough research going to Fee's house that he knew what to ask her. And I know he did, because him and I actually talked about it this week. So he knew before he got to her place a list of things that he wanted to get to. And that is like really key. Like every interview I do for this podcast, like I have a list of notes of things that I want to get to and how to kind of set up the situation so that the person does trust me and the person does understand. I think it's something that I have by the games last year. I was rolling in that department of getting people to that area, because a lot of the people we interview, nobody's ever heard of. We were doing semifinal athletes, masters athletes, all of that stuff. You have to do enough research to know how to get them there, and then ask the right questions. I've been a little out of practice, and so I don't think I'm as on my game as I was last year, and I'd really like to get back to that. Just really hard to get back on the horse. Do you think Hiller is doing this to make a point about the road to the games? I think that may have been a small piece of the motivation at one point in time. But I think that he has learned that he really loves doing this. And I think that the product that comes out at the end, he is very, very proud of. If that answers your question, Kenneth. I do think part of that was motivation at the beginning, and then he realized like he's pretty good at this, and I think he really likes doing it. Do you think the issue with Road to the Games is they don't have enough time, as they're trying to cover a large number of athletes in a fairly short time? I think that it doesn't take that long to research a person. Go back to when we were doing 100 semifinal athletes in like 6 weeks. Or last year when we did 50 Masters athletes in 4 weeks. You can still get a lot of research done in that amount of time to ask the right questions. Denise says, you've had a lot going on this year, Scott. Give yourself some grace. I have had a lot going on this year, and I am giving myself some grace. I just know that I really prided myself on my interviewing ability, and it has fallen off because of my busyness this year. And we'll get back there. But I started this lunch show, and this has been something different that I've had to commit to and had to get better at each day. And I talked about that earlier in the week, like just talking by myself to a camera and seeing you guys in the chat is a different experience than doing a show with Carolyn and Jamie where we're talking to each other. And I just had to get better at this too. But we'll get back to it. Yeah. We'll talk about that another time. So the Fee documentary, A+. I know some of you said go watch the tier videos. They're really well done. So I've watched Abby Domitz. I've watched Romans. I may have watched one other this week. And I do think they're better than Road to the Games. But I still think they rely on the training scenes way too much and not about the personal stuff. And that's the big difference between what Hiller's putting out and what the others are putting out. So I enjoyed the Abby Domet video and I enjoyed the Roman video quite a bit, but they're not at the level of Hippensteel, Horvath, Hopper, and Fee. Those are a different tier. Pardon the pun. But tier does a pretty good job. They're very well produced. They look really nice. But they're also trying to promote a product. So they want you to see the tier shoes, the tier sports bra, the tier shorts in action in the gym. So their motivation may be a little bit different than Hiller, who's just trying to hear the story. So I enjoyed the tier. I don't think it's on the Hiller or that Laura Horvat video thing, but but it's really good and entertaining. Then I watched Road to the Games last night with Harry Lightfoot, Amy Cringle, and Clements. And it may be the best one that they've done so far. I think my problem with Road to the Games is it's almost by accident that they do a good video. Harry Lightfoot, I've got to get him on the show. That dude is hilarious. His personality comes out, and they did more outside the gym stuff with those three. They talked about Amy Cringle wanting to make a granola company, and they went swimming with Clements in the ocean, and Harry Lightfoot and his wife girlfriend fighting about carrying the groceries up the stairs, and Harry Lightfoot's dad is hilarious. Yes, all of that was much better than in the gym stuff, I think. But I don't know, again, if it's by accident or just circumstances made it so that they did more of that. But that's the stuff I want to see. That's the stuff I want to see. And I thought it was much better. I would give that an A-. That Road to the Games, it's probably the best one of the year. And what's crazy is the week before was a D with the Lucy's that I thought was the worst one of the year. So, so there's some good content out for this weekend. If you have not seen it, the most recent Road to the Games is actually pretty good. The tier stuff out there is pretty good. And then the fee thing is just knock your socks off good. So, Lito said it was so funny, but it was definitely due to their personalities. I agree. I think Harry Lightfoot stole the show. I thought Clements was kind of funny that he has to park down around the block from his apartment because he can't find a parking spot. And it's almost a workout getting from his apartment to the car. I thought that was pretty funny. But I loved when like him and his buddies were swimming in the ocean. I thought that was super cool. And a really like lighthearted way to look at things in their personal life. And then when the Cringle Lightfoot thing ended at the restaurant and the contradiction between Lightfoot needing to count every single one of his macros and Amy Cringle not caring at all. Kenneth says Frog Grips put some good ones out too. Yeah, I think the only problem that these companies putting them out is their agenda is that they have to show their product. So that's going to mean that they're going to rely more on the training scenes than the personal stories behind everything. His girlfriend buying him a woman's razor. Yeah, that was great. Because Harry has no hair on his legs. Harry is the wrong first name for that guy. So there you go. So that is my reviews for the week on the CrossFit content. I also watched Coffee Pods and Wods yesterday with Dave Castro. I thought it was a really good interview. I thought Dave was more relaxed than I'd seen him in a long time during an interview. I thought the question of the episode was, with everything that happened, do you ever feel like you just want to say F off and go away? And the long pause that Dave took before he said, let's move on, was more telling than if he actually answered the question. Because I do think he's been through a lot. And I was thinking about it. I've thought a lot about last year. Being at those games was really hard. I think that he has been through a lot. And I think that when Peter pointed out that him and Boz had talked, that Boz says that if it wasn't for Dave, they wouldn't have made it through, or Dave was the only person that could get them through the games last year. I actually had lots of conversations with Boz at the games last year, and he was cracked, and he was a shell of himself. And because of that, I do believe he was right. I think that people nitpicking about what Dave said in a moment of crisis is completely unfair. Because I don't know how I would have handled it any better. It's easy to take shots at people in those moments of weakness. But if I put myself in those shoes, I don't know if I could do any better. I don't know if I could remember everything, every word that I used, every word that was said to a T in a crisis situation to then convey to other people as I'm probably going through a grieving process myself. I don't know. I think that's really hard. And the expectations that some people had during that time, I think, is completely unfair. CrossFit says, you have to think how many times Dave had to have those brutal talks and thoughts. He was bound to misspeak or slip up. I agree. Nobody under that situation, I guess take a step back and ask yourself, if I was in that situation at that time, how would I have handled it differently? And if you don't have an answer after 6 months or 9 months, think about, he had 60 minutes, 2 hours. That's when Ben Bergeron came out and said he would have done things the right way, but he couldn't explain what the right way was. I was like, that dude's off his freaking rocker. Anyway, I thought it was a great interview, but I thought that part of the interview was the best and the highlight, and told a lot. I guess I'm ready to make an announcement. I've had meetings with the person that I'm going to follow at this year's CrossFit Games and their coach. We had a long meeting last night talking about ground rules. And I've talked about it this week that Savon already does a behind the scenes. And then Buttery Bros tried to do their version of behind the scenes. And then Craig Ritchie tried to do their version of behind the scenes. And I don't want to do another just basic behind the scenes, because it's already being done. And I don't think I could do any better than the Savon crew does already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow one athlete from beginning to end. And actually prior to the games, we're going to talk to this athlete and their coach and get some footage. And then we'll get it as they arrive and through check-in as they prepare the days before the games, because check-in's on Tuesday. The games don't start till Friday. And there's all that time in between and how you handle that. And then we're going to be with them the entire weekend. I have asked for enhanced coverage, media access to be behind the scenes in the warm-up area with them, and do some other stuff on there as well. I have not heard back on that. Hopefully I can get that. If not, we have a plan B for all of that. And it's all been agreed to by the athlete and the coach. And I'm going to highlight the coach more than it's been done in the past. And their process through this whole thing as well. And I'm going to tell you who it is right now. Everybody's asking for a hint. It's not a Lucy. It had to be someone. I've never done this before. I'm setting up a proof of concept for the future, and it had to be somebody that I trust implicitly and who trusts me. And that person is what Train to Live said. It is Hattie Canio. So we are going to follow Hattie Canio from now up until the games and through the games. And we're going to have a conversation after the games. I got a whole hotel room in the same hotel as her. So we are going to be in close proximity, and we're going to have those conversations, and it's going to be amazing. So I'm really psyched for that. I think, and she has promised me tons of dance parties and lots of pasta is how she calls it. So we're going to be staying in the same hotel room. We're going to be able to be with each other 24/7 if need be. And we set the ground rules, and it's going to be awesome. So this is awesome. I think we've talked about this last night, Jose, that you would be taking some pictures for her. So I want to be able to work with you as well, and we'll credit you in the documentary and maybe use some stills as part of the documentary. CrossFit says, bring some ketchup chips for Hattie. There you go. Or how do you bring them? So yeah, we're super excited for that. We had a long meeting last night. All the ground rules are set. We're ready to go. But I cannot wait to do this. It's something new for me. It's going to expand me outside of my comfort zone. But I think that we can do a really cool job. I did this kind of once before with Jamie before she became a co-host. I did a documentary with her during quarterfinals. I think it was quarterfinals when she was in the 35 to 39-year-old division. And I spent the entire weekend with her and her family. And we captured all of that. And so now that I've learned some things, I want to do something even better. James W., he's a few minutes behind, but another comment on Dave is we have no idea what orders he was getting from Don Fall and the board of directors. He probably did the best he could under the circumstances. I would even go a step further and say that he was put out there to be the shield for the board and Don Fall. So I think he was put out there to be the scapegoat. Train to Live. Would you do the same thing for Carolyn for Masters? Right now, I'm trying to do an overall behind the scenes because the Masters community doesn't get that like the elite athletes do. So I'd like to do like a more overall behind the scenes of the Masters, including all of them. And that would include like Lido and Jamie and Rudy Berger and like all of them, Denise, all the people that are in the chat that are just freaking awesome athletes. Yeah, we're going to do some behind the scenes stuff. I still don't have like the final approval on that, but I think we're getting it. And if we don't, we're going to do something else. We're getting in the building and we're going to do something. And if it's something like more of a like exclusive access with Jamie and Carolyn, maybe that's what it is because we'll all be here. I don't know. But you're going to get something from the Masters games for sure. Those are my people. All right. I'm so excited to do this, guys. Thank you so much for the comments. Denise is like, nice. Lido's nice. Train to Live, super pumped for that. Fellow Canadian, let's go. Very exciting. Yeah, so really excited about this one. And then back on the Dave thing, CrossFit says he was being the villain for the brand by design. That is said better than I could have said it. Denise, I'll do anything for you, Scott. Thank you. Denise was a highlight in last year's behind the scenes. My favorite part is when I snuck up behind her and she didn't see me and turned around and was startled. And I got to capture that on camera. That was one of my favorite moments. She was just trying to get some post-workout or pre-workout in. I snuck up on her. All right. We are going to talk about the 5 things that make me feel proud about America. Merica. Not America, Merica. And so the first thing on my list, and this is no particular order, these are just the 5 things that make me feel Merica. And my first one is Rocky Balboa, red, white, and blue shorts. Rocky 4, great movie. Rocky is my favorite movie of all time. And Rocky in the red, white, and blue taking on the Russians, that makes me feel America. But you know what elevates this even more? You know what that is? It's when someone so iconic as Rich Froning, oh no, is it gone? I lost it. Oh no. I had it. I think I lost it. Oh no, here we go. When someone like Rich Froning wears the Rocky Balboa shorts in an open workout, the icon himself, that when he ripped off the basketball pants to reveal the Rocky Balboa shorts, that's Merica. That's Merica right there. The next thing on my list is, and this is going to have a little bit of a riff in it. Clear out some of these tabs. Is I love me some fireworks. Fireworks make me feel like America. I love the booms. I love the explosions. And here in Columbus, we have a massive fireworks display downtown. It is supposed to be the largest fireworks display in the Midwest, and it takes up most of downtown. And I love me some fireworks. But last night, they opened the show with something that doesn't make me feel America, and I'm already over it. And that is, I think it's this one. Is this the drone shows? What the hell is this? They did a drone show for like 15 minutes prior to the fireworks, and it made no sense to me. There's no sounds, there's no booms, there's no echoes, it's just zzz, and you get little shapes in the sky, all done by computer. And I guess it's kind of cool for a couple minutes, but 15 minutes, not nice. Not nice at all. Give me my fireworks. Leave the drones alone. All right. So fireworks, Merica, drones, not Merica. Then the next thing is, and I meant to bring down the album to show you, the album is, nothing makes me feel America more than when Ray Charles sings America the Beautiful. When he sings America the Beautiful, he does it in a way that just makes me have goosebumps. Nobody else can do it. And I don't care how many years in a row I've heard that song. It never grates on my nerves. Just give me some Ray Charles singing America the Beautiful. Denise, drone shows and 3D movies get the same meh for me. I hear you. Yeah, the 3D movie thing, I'm over that too. Just let me enjoy the movie. So, Ray Charles, America the Beautiful. The next thing on my list for Merica is bald eagles. Nothing gives you a goosebump more than seeing a bald eagle in the wild. Where I live in Western Pennsylvania, there's a couple areas around where I live where there are eagles' nests. And one of them is on the way to get back here to Columbus from my mom's house in Pennsylvania. My wife and I were driving down this road. It's like a freeway. It goes down from one mountaintop and into a valley and then up into the other side of the mountaintop. We hit the valley one time, and an eagle literally came by, flying right beside the window. Talk about, one, freaking you out, two, majestic and beautiful, and three, goosebumps from hell. Man, that's Merica right there. They are the most amazing, beautiful birds you could ever imagine. And to see them in the wild is just amazing. So my final Merica thing is going to be this. And I am going to be very specific, and it is hot dogs. This is my favorite kind of hot dog, and that is the Chicago style hot dog. But every 4th of July, I got to have a hot dog. Some years we do the foot long, some years we do regular dogs, but we always have hot dogs on the 4th of July. That is what my wife and I do. This is the Chicago dog. It is got tomatoes on it. It's got peppers. It's got pickle and mustard and the green relish, the bright green relish on a poppy seed bun. And you got to get that. It's like a red snap hot dog. It is freaking amazing. If I can't get a Chicago hot dog made the way I want it made, then I just like ketchup, onion, and nacho cheese. Nacho cheese. That's what I want. So either Chicago style hot dog or ketchup, onion, nacho cheese. What do you like on your hot dog? CrossFat says ketchup, gasp. Yeah, my wife is a mustard fiend. We have to buy like mustard by the keg as much as she puts on stuff. It's funny because like on the Chicago dog, I would never put ketchup. Like it's got to be mustard. But man, if I'm just, I don't know, getting a plain dog, I just want ketchup, onion, nacho cheese. It's the ketchup and nacho cheese. That's the mix I like. That's the mix I like. It's the nacho. If it wasn't nacho cheese, then I would not want ketchup. I'd want mustard. But it's the nacho cheese and ketchup mixture, which is awesome on fries, by the way, too. I don't even know what to think about this. Mayo is sneaky good on a dog. Duke's mayo. Oh, I don't know. Can't handle that. Plain hot dog for me. That's Denise. Oh, that's a shame. That's just not even fun. And then Jody Lynn, Portillo's hot dogs growing up was a staple. I've only had Portillo's one time, and it did not go well in my stomach. I will just say that, Jody Lynn. It was not it was a Portillo's in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So it was not an authentic Chicago Portillo's. So I don't want to judge them based on a franchise that may have screwed the pooch. Wiener Circle. There you go. Denise says, how about a pretzel bun? I like a pretzel bun if it's toasted. You got to toast it. If you don't toast it, it just gets a little bit harder. And it's harder to eat. So that's my thing. CrossFit Wrigley dogs. Never been to Wrigley Field. Been to Soldier Field. Never been to Wrigley Field. But I'll have to try that out sometime. I actually have a friend who I judged with, and he's moved up to judge ranks. He's like head judge at major comps through the CrossFit world. And he lives in Wrigleyville, and maybe go see him sometime and get some authentic Chicago dogs for sure. Denise says, I'd rather have a brat too. I like Italian sausage better than brat, but I see where you're at. For me, if I'm going to make a brat, I want it to be like uncooked in the casing. I boil it in beer and then throw it on the grill just to give it some flavor. But I prefer Italian sausage, hot Italian sausage. That's me. But if you're in Columbus, Denise, when you come, there's a store here called Schmidt's, and they have every kind of wurst and sausage you can imagine. It's Schmidt's in the German Village. They are authentic. They're as authentic can be. And they have German potato salad. They have all the kinds of kraut, the purple kraut, the yellow kraut, everything you can imagine, German wise. It's a great place to go and check out when you're here in Columbus. So there you go. George Wang watching Joey Chestnut win the Coney Island contest on July 4th. Yeah, we talked about at the top of the show. I don't like eating wet, soggy buns and plain hot dogs just doesn't catch my interest anymore. That's why we're doing this show. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. Glad I got to announce that we're following Hattie Canyo through the CrossFit Games this year. Go watch that Fee Saghafi video if you haven't already done so. Make sure you like and subscribe to this episode because that really helps with the algorithm. And all of you who have joined the channel, we really, really appreciate that. That totally helps us pay for all of the software just to keep this thing running. And if you want to do that, there's a join button below. If not, just hit like and subscribe, and that helps as well. With that, guys, I know us in the U.S. probably don't have to go back to work, but the rest of you knuckleheads around the world, get back to work. And we'll see everybody next time on Lunch with the Clydesdale. Bye, guys.